Hello, I'm Deanne Kress, and this is Brian Kempisty with me here today. And Brian and I have been talking about the benefits of having a chief heart officer within your organization. We've been talking about leadership and grit, and today we're going to talk about storytelling, leadership philosophy, and being human. So, Brian, I'm going to start by asking you a question today. Why you often talk about storytelling and encouraging people at PortX, the team at PortX, to tell their stories. Why do you feel that telling stories is so impactful in business development and just personal connection?
Well, in our business and developing our business and developing, those people at PortX, it's just more fun. Like when you tell a story, the person on the other end can relate. So if that's me talking to somebody on our operations team and I tell them, a personal story of how I had something similar happen to me or something that was bad that we had to overcome, it just makes it way more relatable. So, from a management perspective, it's just easy to relate to the people, and it's way more fun to have that experience and interaction, I think, for both parties.
Yeah. I always find it interesting that you and I have so many parallel belief systems. So you use it to become more relatable in the business environment with your customers. And I found that in my coaching with people, having them tell me their story, and I share many parts of my story as it's relevant to coaching people, it makes us all more human. And I've often found that, so the way that I use story is for leadership development, right? So having people tell me their personal stories as a way of helping them to grow and to develop into being more of who they already are, and making them see that sometimes their stories cannot be, they're kind of fabricated or they're made up by somebody else for them.
Yeah, I mean, I have so many great stories from customers, vendors, employees. Like those are the things that you remember 20 years later are those crazy stories and being true humans. And who are our best customers? Our best customers are the ones that we have the best relationship with because we're human. They may have come to my wedding. They may have, I may have, been to their house for multiple dinners or their kids' birthday parties or whatever. But those are the people that you remember for a career and a lifetime. And, as we talk about being human and building that family within PortX, we're trying to do that both in the office with our people and I think externally with our customers too.
And it just makes us human, right? So we often talk about, PortX does not manage by spreadsheet, but we manage by bingos, which is the celebration of people's stories of success, which is amazing. And I think that's really cool. Like let's celebrate the things that have gone well, and let's share the story with everybody about the things that have gone well.
I think, a lot of the people that might start at PortX, right? So if you're, Alex or Beatrice or somebody that's only been there for, 3 to 6 months, they might be like, well, geez, that's Brian and he's one of the major owners and he's kind of the boss guy. And, they, have that intimidation or possible fear, right? So if you share a story of a struggle that you've had or a dumbass moment that you've had, or, something that they can personally relate to, they come to you much more easily and the communication flows much better. And, you always mention the transparency, like there's, Beatrice has been here for 3 months now, but like she can call me with anything and any stupid story and something that went really bad and it's all okay.
Yeah. I think that if we could kind of transition into the leadership philosophy from that just for a second, the one thing I've always valued about working with you and the leadership team at PortX is just that ability to be real and to be raw, right? Like there isn't this high level hierarchy of, intimidation, right? Like let's all just be in it together and let's just recognize the successes and the challenges and support each other in that. And as I've coached the team from the leadership team all the way down, one of the things they always tell me is that they can go to any of you guys with whatever is happening, whether it's positive or negative, and know that they're not going to get reprimanded for that, but they're going to get help and support and coaching on like, okay, made a mistake, like let's figure out how to make it to remedy that mistake and then move on. And I think that ties into being human and like recognizing that shit happens, right?
And recognizing that there could be this, people perceive this corporate structure, like you said, the hierarchy, and this guy's in the corner office and this guy is, doing this job and this person is this person's boss. Well, if you come on one of our leadership retreats, you quickly find out that we are all just really messy humans that want to have fun and support each other. And then it becomes more of a kinship than it does a hierarchy.
And one of the things I love about the culture at PortX and being able to work with the team there is that it's like, just tell me who you are, right? Like, let's just help you to be the best human that you can be. And let's support you in what you're already good at and make you the best you can be at that, rather than making people feel guarded and defensive. And I feel like you guys at PortX are really setting some sort of precedent for how to lead into the future. And if we come back to what it's about, I think it's about just the human factor, being human, and like, let's just share our stories, and the funny stories, like the better the story, the funnier the story, it just adds just more of that human factor to the.
And that's why our third success factor is, bring the weird, embrace the weirdness, right? I mean, because we all have that somewhere deep within us that's a little messy. So, instead of, hiding that, let's just bring it, and I think we've done a good job. I think everybody in the office feels pretty comfortable and it's pretty free flowing, and I'm sure you see that on a week-to-week basis.
What is your leadership philosophy? I know we've talked about story and being human. Do you have like another foundational component to your leadership philosophy?
No, I don't. I mean, I think our foundation really starts, and it goes back to the pillars. We talk about the pillars all the time: culture, service, and tech. And we can talk about culture a lot, and it's super important, and being human and embracing the weird and telling the stories is all really important. But we are also somewhat serious about our business too. We talk about our bingos, and that is the most important thing to me, is those accolades that we keep piling up from the clients, and all the other stuff that we do with the culture and the tech helps us get those bingos. So, that's I guess we're working backwards. We're taking the end result that we want to be the absolute best, and then we're trying to create a recipe for our people through the culture and the service, and how do we deliver that to end up getting the bingos at the end of the day.
Well, I shared with you before we started this call that even though I'm leadership development coach and guide for you guys, what transpires, because I think people are allowed to be human, is people have gotten really personal this week in particular. I'm not sure why, and I don't know if it's a deeper level of trust, the length of time that I've been with PortX, but just sharing some of those deeper, darker parts of being human, right? And just needing to talk about some of those things to heal and to move on to the next level of being human. And I've appreciated each person that has shared that story with me, because it relieves the stress and it relieves that tension of needing to hold and to question and to wonder who you are, and just gives them permission to say, all right, we've all got like different parts of the story of our lives, and it doesn't have to define us, right? Like those deeper, darker pieces of what's happened during our journey doesn't have to define us in our entirety. It's just a chapter of the book. And you always say, as we move through life, we're just writing our personal book or creating our legacy. And one of the things I've shared with the team is like, that's just a chapter, right? And maybe some of the things that have happened are unfortunate, but let's just kind of process through that and put it into perspective. And what have you learned from that piece or that chapter of your story? And then how do you turn the page and let's start writing in the next chapter? And let's write it different, right? Because we need some of those struggles and some of those darker pieces to create like texture in who we are. We can't
Well,
be
and
all
it's
goodness.
real, right? Like, people always have that perception, and even of me specifically, they're like, well, geez, you're perfect. Everything you do just works. And I have to remind them, like, well,
Yeah.
what about this that didn't work and this that didn't work? And, people have that perception of me. So I always try to break that down to be like, yeah, no, there's a lot of shit that went wrong. And that just makes them realize that I'm more human, and then we can have a better relationship and a better open conversation because they're not trying to be perfect anymore.
Right. And I think having my role on the team allows people to be real too, right? So they don't have to separate who they are at home and who they are at work, but can bring themselves in their wholeness and know that they can feel safe and they can be open and honest, not with everybody, but with somebody that's safe and comfortable for them to talk to, because once you let that go, then you have more energy and space to be more of who you are, right? Like, let's then talk about your strengths and what you bring to Port X and how we can make you more successful in your life and your work.
No, I just think the stories just make it more fun. And, we're in this, whether it be 8 hours to 12 hours a day, so we are family. We do need to be human. And let's have a little fun and bring some weirdness to it, because nobody wants to go and sit there and dread being there and be uncomfortable. So, part of the way that we treat our people is just like, I want to have fun. And I know that our leadership team wants to have fun, and we still want to collect the bingos at the end of the day. So, let's just do our thing and be humans and create this family atmosphere and deliver some kick-ass service that nobody else can beat.
Love it. So thank you, Brian, for another great conversation about having a chief heart officer on staff, leadership philosophy, leading the people, allowing them to be human. We are going to continue to have these chats, Brian and I, every week, so stay tuned, and hopefully we can help you to develop the culture within your organization and develop your people the same way we're developing the people at Port X and supporting each other as humans. Thank you, and have a great day.